Well, what do I have here? I have a dinosaur, and this is the Canon C70. And this is a camera that's kind of been a bit of a cult camera. And some kind of people really love it. And some people kind of I'm not too sure if I like this type of form factor and what this camera has to offer. But I have bought this specific one secondhand last year, and I've just ordered a brand new one because I like it so much. And the reason why I like this camera is because I would probably go as far to say that I know this is a film camera, but I would probably argue that this is probably one of the best content creator cameras out there. And that's a pretty big statement to say because that's what I use it mostly for. I'm filming now on my R3, but I find my R3s for video are just a little bit more of a longer work process because the files are so much bigger. And just the way that you need to use other accessories with them to make sure that you get your image exposed correctly. But let's get back to the C70. Now, the C70 one has a screw thread on the side, right? So you can put a plate, and this plate kind of lives on this camera because I can still open the little. I'm saying it now, but I can't. I can still open the little door and get my cards out. So I've got two plates. I've got one on the bottom and I've got one on the side. And when you not have a cage or anything on this camera, it's actually pretty compact. You can put it in a backpack. It fits into my camera bag into a normal camera pouch like my R3s. So even though it's not as small as some of the mirrorless cameras, it still is pretty compact. And what I pair with it when I'm doing my social media is this little lens here, this 60mm, which comes to around about 24 mil because of the Super 35 sensor. And that's just a really good kind of talking head size of lens for a camera. And the really thing that I love the most about this camera is you can shoot in 1080p and it's 50 megabits per second. And if you go down to 720p, which a lot of cameras don't even do now, it goes down to 12 megabits per second. And that's 10-bit and C-Log 2. It grades so quickly, so beautifully. The file sizes are tiny. It looks amazing once uploaded to social media, as good as anything. And it just makes your workflow so much quicker because you've got the plate on the side, you've got the small file sizes, you can put these little lenses on. This is it's not even a red ring, it's just a 16mm Canon lens. And it's not even that expensive. You just whack that on here and it becomes a very compact style of camera that you can just walk around with and take photos. And of course, when you're doing talking heads, you need sound, and it's got all of the sound functions on the side. They plug in. You've got all of the audio. You can have a backup channel within the camera, which is at a lower dB. So if you shout and scream, doesn't matter. You've got a lower track. Everything is included in this camera. And that's one of the major things that I really, really like about this camera. It's one of the very few cameras on the market that is everything's on the body for video. And the only other camera I can think of that does that is the C80. I don't think there's any other camera that has everything on board, including NDs built in and all the sound features and everything. Some of them have it, like the SF6 have it on the handle, but it's not in the main body. Leave your comments down below if you know a camera that does have everything on board. But the C80 and C70 definitely do. They're a one-stop shop body for making video content. So that's why I like the C70. And if you really want to get serious, of course, there's RAW now in the Canon C70. And obviously you've got your intro formats and your higher formats, and it does 4K, no crop, 120, does all the stuff you need. Now, the C70 is not so magical. It has a few Achilles heels. Now, we can just talk about them. Now, the two things that I found using this camera is the autofocus is kind of at the EOS R level because that's when it was made. That was the time when this camera was designed. And it's a little bit unfortunate. If the autofocus was as good as the new cameras, as it is, they just improved that one thing. It would just make it a little bit more usable when you're shooting all sorts of different items. Now, for talking heads like this, this camera works absolutely fine. You can put it on to face only. If you walk out of the picture, it doesn't jump to the background. It's a really nice feature which the hybrid cameras don't have. But it does kind of jump around a bit, like it can jump to people's shoulders from their eye, and you've got to watch it. And if you're working with it, you can kind of like lock it off, and you've got to change the AF settings to sort of make it kind of do what you want it to do. Whilst the new cameras like the R3, the new hybrid cameras, they just insane good. So the autofocus is a little bit of a letdown, but it's still very workable, especially if you're manning the camera or you're just having it locked off and you just lock the autofocus. Works fantastic because the image is great. Now, the other thing that is a little bit of an issue, but I'm doing some testing on this currently. So the jury is still out on this, and that is low light performance. Now, the C70, even though it's got the DGO sensor and people say it's low noise, that's kind of true at the lower ISOs, right? But once you start to push it, that noise comes quite significant. It is a very pleasing noise, and it does give you that kind of filmic look. So I've actually left it in videos because it's so pleasing. You sort of go, oh, look at the noise. But then you sort of go, yeah, well, this actually looks pretty cool. So it depends how finical you are. If you don't like noise at all and you just can't stand it, your C70, once you start to push the ISOs, may be a little bit of disappointment. But I've actually been doing some testing at some very high ISOs with this camera, and I've found that if you, in general, expose it a bit over, so instead of, say, like 2 stops over, you go even 3 stops over, you can still pull back the highlights because the exposure tools, especially with the waveform and so forth, they give you a bit of leeway with this camera. You can, and I've noticed that with Canon cameras in general, even with my R3, what the histogram and the exposure tools kind of tell you, you have a little bit more latitude in the highlight. So you can push the camera to like 3 stops over and you can pull it all back. You get less noise and the image looks pretty good. So I've been trying this technique at higher ISOs, and it seems to be working quite well. And I've been doing some tests at 12,800, and it's kind of usable. I would say usable. Some other people may not say usable, but definitely for social media and for what I do, weddings, get away with it, no probs at all. If you're doing it probably for some high-end commercial, maybe not. But this camera, I wouldn't put it into that class anyway. I wouldn't say this is a high-end video camera. You'd be using something like, a Red or a Ari if you're doing that anyway. So I think for the use case that I'm trying to sell this for, a 5-year-old camera, for content creation, for YouTube and all that sort of stuff, absolutely amazing. It's so easy to use. It has all the features on board. You can pick it up. You can put it in your backpack. You can get a tiny little prime lens like this or a nifty 50 with an adapter, so you can get 50mm or 85mm very easily. And it produces really, really good images, and it produces them very easy and very, very quickly. So anyway, that's my little review, my 5-year-old camera review on the C70. And I think this stands up to a lot of the new cameras. I mean, the picture image is clearly as good as anything that's coming out at the moment. The only things this camera really lacks over a new camera, the newer models, is low light performance and the autofocus. But everything else, this camera excels, including that battery in the back, because you can shoot this camera for 3 hours. Not many cameras can do that, even the expensive ones. So it's a really usable everyday camera. You pick this up, you got your battery in, you just need a little microphone, and it'll get the job done for you.